Well, welcome to Chom Sports News Chanel. Don't forget to subscribe. Why Bukayo Saka abuse is unwarranted as Arsenal star shows class amid negative comments. Bukayo Saka has again received increased scrutiny and abuse following his collision with Manuel Neuer during Arsenal's Champions League clash with Bayern Munich, as we ask why the winger is perceived to receive more negative comments than others on average. Bukayo Saka became the focus of attention following Arsenal's 2-2 draw with Bayern Munich. The England international went to ground following a collision with Manuel Neuer in the final moments of the game at the Emirates Stadium, but his appeals for a penalty were waved away and the final whistle was blown. What followed was an explosion of debate, opinions, and division, but perhaps sadly what has become far too commonplace, especially for Arsenal's right winger, was a string of abuse and disrespectful comments online. From both Arsenal and rivals fans, social media ignited with images of Saka alongside plenty of distasteful language. It has sparked something of a question about why Saka in particular gets targeted, perhaps more on average than other players. I want to delve into this somewhat and try to make sense of the reasons behind it, if that's even possible. The first place to start is where so often it does for Saka, especially when he steps up to take any penalty in a big game. In 2021, England reached the European Championship final, and it was indeed Saka who stepped up to take what turned out to be the decisive spot kick, seeing Gianluigi Donnarumma save his attempt to hand the trophy to Italy. What followed was a barrage of racist abuse in the days following, with both Jadon Sancho and Marcus Rashford also targeted. It was a horrible experience for Saka, but one which saw some light emerge as supporters came together to show solidarity with the then 19-year-old. Therefore, here we must address the awful reality that racism in football remains prevalent and a problem which has gone on for far too long and yet, despite the efforts made, continues to plague the sport. Without a doubt, the abuse Saka still receives will in many cases be racially motivated, and the hope persists that those who have the ability to do so can put in place measures to scrutinize the perpetrators more strictly and decisively, whilst providing valuable education on the subject to help prevent further incidents. Beyond this, Arsenal themselves have tended to be a club in the spotlight more than most. A club that to many, even beyond just Gunners supporters' own subconscious biases, appears to get more attention, in a negative sense, than any other. Micah Richards famously in January of 2022 spoke of the social skew that exists toward Arsenal in relation to criticism, saying in regard to the request to reschedule the North London derby due to a player shortage impacted by COVID-19. I just feel like when it's Arsenal, everyone wants to lump in for some reason. Arsenal have been in great form, and by the rules they've done nothing wrong. Like the lads have said here, the clarity, and they're playing by what they perceive as not enough first-team players. So I understand other people being frustrated, but in my opinion, they've done nothing wrong. And let's be honest, other clubs would do the same thing as well. This is not an Arsenal thing. It therefore stands to reason that Saka, being an Arsenal player, faces the increased scrutiny that evidently exists surrounding the club. There's little that can be done about this, however, as opposed to the first. Arsenal are a side that are ultimately punching above their weight. Looking at the reality of the title race, two greats of the Premier League in Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp, whose squads have won titles and Champions Leagues. And here is Arsenal, under a manager in his first job with a young squad, and currently top of the table and the bookies' favorites to knock out the great Bayern Munich. The narrative was all set up on the night with the return of Harry Kane, scoring his inevitable penalty, and Arsenal were on the way to bottle it again. But Leandro Trossard had other ideas with his equalizer before the controversial penalty call. Perhaps some felt shortchanged. When Kane helped Bayern take the lead, the story was written for many, and they were excited for it. And when Saka nearly flipped it on its head, it sparked fury. Understandable? Yes, it's football. Acceptable for that to incite the abuse it led to for many? Absolutely not. Lastly, is jealousy. Saka is a brilliant footballer and rival fans would be desperate to have him at their clubs, which sadly leads those more insecure to turn that envy into abusive messages. Saka took to Instagram after the Bayern game and wrote, "Frustrating, but everything to play for in the second leg." The thousands of comments were indeed filled with the abuse and remarks we've alluded to, but the message itself is a positive one. Saka might still be a young player doing incredible things, but he's also older, more experienced, and perhaps somewhat hardened. He shouldn't have to be, of course, nor should he have to deal with the things that are aimed in his direction, but he shows great courage every week he pulls on the shirt for his club or country. We live in hope that more can be done, particularly on social media, to help curb the abuse, but whilst the fight goes on, Saka continues fighting for Arsenal. If they have a hope of winning in the Allianz Arena, he will be at the center of it, a testament to his obvious quality. Thanks for visiting and don't forget subscribe, like, share and comment.